terms from your textbook in chapter number 1, that is accounting and its terminology. So today we are going to know some advanced level of accounting terminology that are receivable and payable. Mainly there are two terms for today's topic, but both consist several other terms as you can see on the board, and exactly opposite one. Same as heading, all the sub-points given under the main heading are also having characteristics of opposite terms, such as what does it mean by receivable? So it is in regards of money accounting. So receivable means we are going to receive money from someone, XYZ, whatever may be the person. So what does it given in your textbook? That four terms are given as per page number 17 on your textbook. There is a chart given regarding the receivables. So like debtors, receivable, bills receivable, outstanding, income, and prepaid expense. There are four terms given on page number 17. And before that particular chart, all the terms, all four terms are explained. So starting from page number 16, debtors, in your board, that is point number 1, but in your textbook that is page number 16, point number 31. Debtors are given like that. When a businessman sells goods on credit to his own customer, goods on credit, selling a businessman selling goods on credit means without taking money, on credit basis. He is selling goods to their customer. Those customers are called as a debtor. So they are the customer, but they have not paid money, and that's why they are called debtors. Who are debtors? The customers who have not paid the money till date are known as a debtor. The customer who have not paid any money for the goods they have purchased from the business, they are called the debtors. Okay. What is given is customer becomes debtor of all amounts for which goods is sold on credit. Debtors are known as current asset. Okay, we have discussed already what does it mean by current asset. Short-term asset, asset which are less than 12 months. So debtor are given here as a current asset. So we can write it here. Current asset. So debtors are the current asset as you are in your textbook. Okay, one more line is given. Customer become debtor of that amount for which goods is sold on credit. So if a particular person is paying half of the amount and not paying half rest of the amount, is only debtor for the amount for which he or she have not paid. If goods of rupees 10,000 is purchased by a customer and 5,000 paid to the businessman, so remaining 5,000 which he or she have not paid, we are writing as a debtor. 5,000 only. 5,000 paid already by check or by cash. Remaining 5,000 are called as a debtor for the name of particular customer. Okay, next, bills receivable. Okay. This debtor could be converted into bills receivable only. And how is that possible? So in your textbook it is given bills receivable is a written document. Point number 1, it is a document. Bills receivable is a document, and it is a written document where there are two parties, two persons are there. In legal terminology, in terms of court of law, they are not called as a person here because it might not be a natural person, it might be an artificial person like company or any other business or such like that. So they are calling parties. Two parties must be there. And which are they? So it is here. One is the bill writer and another is the bill acceptor. So two parties are there. One is writer and one is acceptor. So who is the writer? The businessman is the writer. Who is the acceptor? The debtor is the acceptor of the bills payable. That is the simple expression, but what is given in your textbook? Where bill writer acquires the right to receive certain amount as per predetermined date in the future. What does bill writer have? A particular right regarding amount received. That is, when bill writer acquires the right to receive certain amount, in our case, debtors not paid particular amount, and that amount will be received by the writer of the bill. A certain amount as per predetermined date in future. In case of debtor, there is no fixed date. They might call 2 months or 1 month tentatively, and if there will be changing the date of 1 month to 1.5 months or 2 months to 2.5 months, then there will be no legal criteria to challenge. But in bills receivable, there is a fixed future date on which amount is receivable. In bills receivable, because it is a written document, and the writer has written the amount as well as the time, predetermined date in the future on which day you will be received particular amount of money. And bill is receivable for the bill writer on that particular date which is written in the bill, future date, and amount will be receivable by the bill writer. Will be receivable by the bill writer. This is the bill receivable for the writer. Now, what about the acceptor? In this document, bill acceptor accept the written responsibility to pay the specified amount on the maturity date. The date which is written by the writer, future date, is called the maturity date. Here you can underline it. Maturity date is the date on which bill is to be paid off. So on that particular day, the acceptor is bound to pay particular amount which is written in the bills receivable. Generally, bills receivable emerge from debtor. Generally, bills receivable emerge from debtor. That I have already told you. Accommodation of bill are also popular in practice. Accommodation means I can pay to someone with my bills receivable and not by the money. If I have certain amount of bills receivable, say for example I have 10,000 rupees, I am the writer of the 10,000 rupees of bills receivable. If I am a writer, then I will be in the position of amount receivable. I have certain amount which is receivable in future date, which are written by me as the bills receivable. So it is bills receivable money. And if I have to pay to XYZ person 10,000 rupees, then I can accommodate my bill to that particular person that I have already 10,000 receivable in future debt. Now you give it. You will be the receiver of that particular bill. So that is called the accommodation of bill. Is very much popular in the practice. In this regard, detailed discussion is made in the separate chapter. There are particular chapter on your syllabus in which we are going to discuss bills receivable further. Now, these two are the income and expense. We have already discussed income and expense, but what does it mean by outstanding and prepaid? Okay, prepaid one is very much popular, but outstanding is not very much popular. Or outstanding in particular, which is not received, it is for the income. Same word is given here for the expense. Outstanding income, outstanding expense. This income is not received and this expense not paid. For income, outstanding stands for the not received, and for expense, outstanding stands for not paid. So these are the outstanding income which are not received till date. We have incurred already that particular income. We are in possession of the full acquisition of that particular income, but we have not received that particular income till date. So we have sold the goods, or we have incurred the particular bill or XYZ thing, but we right till date, right now, we have not received the particular income. That particular income is called as outstanding income. And same, prepaid expense paid in advance. Here prepaid is paid for the advance. In prepaid SIM card you have to pay advance and then you can use the particular plan or whatever tariff. So prepaid expenses paid in advance and outstanding expense yet not received income not received till date. So what is given in your textbook? That is only head is receivable. Any amount be received by the business when in the future from any person or person is known as receivable or outstanding income. Any amount receivable by the businessman. And there is further explanation that debtors and bills receivable are included the receivable in other receivable, commission outstanding, rent outstanding. So these are called the example of outstanding income, commission outstanding, rent outstanding, interest outstanding, and there is one prepaid expense, etc. include loans and advance also included for short term. Loans and advances for short term only. So these four are the receivable. And same, exactly opposite, payable. To all these things is in which we have to pay in future. In this particular four things we have to amount which are receivable in future, and in this particular four items the amount which are payable in future. So these are all the future criteria: receivable, payable. So what does it given in your textbook, page number 17, point number 34, that is creditors. So exact opposite. In debtors, we are selling the goods without receiving any money. Here, we are purchasing the goods without paying any money. We are purchasing the goods without paying any money. So these are if these are current assets, these are the current liabilities. So what is it given in your text? As businessman does credit sales, like this credit sales. In the same way, he undertakes credit purchase. A person from whom goods are purchased on credit, that particular person becomes creditor of the business. A trader becomes creditor of the business for that particular amount for which goods are purchased on credit. Creditors are treated as current liability, as we have already discussed. So these are the creditors. Now what does it mean by bills payable? Exactly opposite. If this is a writer, for acceptor, the same thing, same document is bills payable. I am repeating, for the writer, particular document is bills receivable. The same document is bills payable for the acceptor, who is accepting the bill is called bills payable. The person who are going to pay the particular bill. So what does it give in your textbook? Bills payable is the written document where there are two parties, same as bills receivable, bill writer and acceptor. Where bill acceptor accepts the responsibility to pay the certain amount of predetermined date in the future. Same language is written as it is written in the bills receivable, but this is from the point of view of acceptor, as I have mentioned earlier, and the bills receivable is from the point of view of the writer of the bill. So you have to bifurcate who is the writer and who is the acceptor. On that particular basis, you can bifurcate what is bills receivable and what is bills payable. If you cannot determine both the things, you are going to make some trouble for yourself. So what is it given in your textbook? Further, they say it becomes bills payable. In this written, bill acceptor accept the written responsibility to pay specified amount on a specified date. In case of bills payable, bill acceptor pays the amount written in bills to the bills writer on maturity date. Generally, bill acceptor emerges from the creditors. Like bills receivable emerge from the debtors, same as bills payable emerge from the creditors. And further, they are saying the payables for the outstanding expense and income received in advance. So these all are the current liabilities: outstanding expense, the expense which we have not paid, income received in advance, income offer which is not yet our income because we have not transacted yet, but they have paid advance to us for our future transaction. That is called income received in advance. If someone have paid advance to us in what does it happen in prepaid expense? We have paid in advance to some others. Any income received in advance, we have received certain amount as an advance for the transaction which we are going to occur in future. So income received in advance. So these both are the payables. Any amount to be paid by the business person is in the future to any person or persons is known as payable. Any amount. So these all four are considered as payable. Creditors and bills payable, including bills creditors and bills payable, these both are included payable, as well as pre-received income like this, one kind of liability. All these payables are current liabilities, all these payable current liabilities, and same as all these receivables are current asset. So we can write it here, current asset and current liabilities. All these four things belongs to same particular heading, and this can be long-term liabilities which are discussed hereafter. Okay, long-term liabilities are the topic of further discussion. So these are the receivable and payable. For your future reference, this lecture is very much important to you. So I hope you must, and I can say you have to repeat this lecture more and more times, as many times as you can, because these are the very much IMP topics until you stop the study of commerce. So friends, these are the few of your last terminology of this particular chapter. So you can discuss it very fast, one by one, as given in your textbook, and are very common term used, such as first thing is cost. What is cost? To produce any product or to provide any service, whatever expense are required to some of these particular expenses are cost. Generally in cost, raw material cost, labor cost and other costs are included. So the amount which we have incurred for the production of particular goods are known as cost. All the expenses we incurred, and if we sum up all that particular expense, the sum of that particular expense is called the cost. Very basic sense. Next is the voucher. What does it mean by voucher? You have seen, you have received certain type of bills for particular expense you incur for your home, such as electricity bill, gas bill, phone bill, etc., etc. So these are also one type of voucher. They are called expense voucher for and for that particular company who have issued that particular bill is called the receivable voucher, or as they are just calling them bills right now. Okay, as we have discussed, bills receivable until we have paid. Okay, voucher is the written document of a business transaction. Business transaction. It is a written document for a business transaction. Any transaction you can write it on a voucher, whether it is expense, income, payment, receipt, receivable, payable, any type of transaction occurred in the business can be written in the voucher. A type of transaction is determined on the basis of voucher. Which type? Okay, that means for all the type of transaction there are different type of vouchers. Sales transaction. Okay, it is given a type of transaction like cash transaction, credit transaction, purchase transaction, sale transaction with bank expense, income transaction, asset transaction, liability transaction, etc. are determined from the voucher. So these are the basic types of voucher which are generally all the companies are using right nowadays. After deciding the types of transactions are recorded in the books of account according to the rules of account. So voucher is very much basic document, very much important document for the accounting, because that particular document all the accounting process is based on. Next is the discount. Discount are of two types: trade discount, cash discount, and both the discount might be receivable, might be allowed by you. So this might be income if it is received. If it is allowed, that is called your loss or expense. So trade discount and cash discount are the main type, and this is either income or expense. So what is given in your textbook? First of all, it is explained discount on page number 18, point number 39. Emergence of the discount is from the purchase and sales. Many times from the total amount of purchase or sale as per the condition, certain amount is included and net amount, certain amount is deducted and net amount is paid. The amount which is deducted from the total amount is known as discount. So it is very basic information regarding the discount which we have encountered in our daily routine life. If we are going to purchase XYZ things, and we have seen that shopkeeper or a company are giving more and more discount nowadays. Out of total amount of purchase or sale, the amount which is out of the total amount of purchase or sale, the amount which is procured or deducted is known as discount. So for us, discount is the amount, less amount. Either we have to pay particular amount with discount, or we can receive certain amount with discount. Okay, so that particular discount is known as deduction from that particular amount. If we have to pay 10,000 and if we are paying 9,000, what is the difference? It is a deduction from that particular account. That deduction is known as discount. Same thing is in the receipt. If you are a shopkeeper and you have generated a bill of rupees 15,000, and if particular person is not paying all 15,000 and paying with the 14,000, the amount is deducted from the bill, or you allowed to deduct him or her from the bill, said that particular deduction, that particular amount which is not paid by him or her is known as discount. So it is a very basic term. And there are two main types of discount. There are trade discount as cash discount, as you can see on the board. So what does it mean by trade discount? Okay, these both terms are very much important. You can write it INPG for that particular margin. At the times of sales, the business person deducts certain percentage amount from the sales price. It is known as trade discount. Trade discount is not recorded in the books, underlined particular line. Trade discount are not recorded in the books of accounts. Assume that goods worth rupees 10,000 sold at 2% trade discount. In this case, the selling price rupees 10,000 after deducting 2%, it is 200. Sales of rupees 9,800 will be recorded in the books. 200 amount of 200 is not recorded anywhere in the accounting, because trade discount is the normal discount, which is the part of your business. Without that particular discount, you cannot do business at all. So this discount is for all over the business community, and all our business community is given that particular discount. So that is a common discount and not considered as transaction. Cash discount: to attract the customer with the purpose to receive quick collection of credit sales, the amount which is deducted or reduced from the receivable amount is known as cash discount. So this is for the this discount is known as the marketing discount, or you can say advertisement discount. You can see everywhere this the word of sale or discount, or buy one get two, or buy two get three, or whatever type of they are selling the goods. These all are the examples of discounts. So these are for the attraction. After reduction of trade discount, cash discount is determined. As above stated in A, if 200 discount is allowed on 9,800, customer would pay 9,600 to the supplier. Thus 200 will be treated as a cash discount. This discount is allowed at the time of the collection of cash, thus it is called a cash discount. Cash discount is only permissible in the cash transaction and not in the credit transaction. If it is a credit transaction and also mention the percentage of cash discount, you have to ignore that particular cash discount because this is not the cash transaction. This discount, cash discount, is only allowed as and when you pay the cash or receive the cash. Otherwise, cash discount will not come even if it is mentioned in the sum. You have to ignore it. If it is not credit or cash transaction. In credit transaction, there will never be a cash discount allowed. There are only trade discounts. The trade discount for both the transaction, cash as well as credit. Trade discounts can be allowed in both the type of transaction, cash and credit. But cash discount is only for the cash transaction and not for the credit transaction. Okay, we have already discussed discount receipt and allowed. Discount receipt is your income, discount allowed is your loss or expense, you can say, which are explained in the further discussion in your textbook with example that you can read it off. Last, depreciation and bad debt. Okay, we have discussed the asset. This depreciation is connected with that particular part. Like you can see, depreciation is expense of a business. Asset are the investment of the business. Like depreciation is the expense of the business. Every year the value of asset is reduced by certain rate. Every year the value of asset, as told you, is related with the asset. Every year the value of asset will be reduced at a certain rate. Amount which is reduced is called depreciation. The amount of the reduction every year in the asset is called a depreciation. Before making tax payment to the government, depreciation is deducted. So this is a taxable expense. By this expense we can reduce our profit and that will be benefited for paying of tax. So it is very much important from a practical point of view, particularly taxation point of view. When I am going to further learn the commerce and income tax and other things, depreciation is the most important part we will play. And before making tax payment to the government, depreciation is a non-cash expense of the business. Underline it, non-cash expense. For depreciation, you do not have to pay any amount. This is the expense which you have already incurred while you have paid for that particular asset. Now you have to consider it every year amount only, not any payment, because you have already paid. This is a non-cash expense of the firm. So that is on and bad debt. This is related with the debt. Bad debt is related BAD. I forgot to space between them. Bad debt. Bad debt is when a good sold to the credit by the business person to whom goods sold is debtor of the business. From him, the amount of sale is to be collected. Up till that, we have already discussed in the point of debt. What is next? Many times, debtor of the business may not in position to pay full amount. Now, we are coming to the point. Due to his weak financial condition, if the amount is not collected even after the necessary effort, the amount which is not received is known as a bad debt. Bad debt is not an expense of the business, but it is the loss. We have to forget that particular amount which is not received by us. So bad debt is the loss for the business. So these are all the basic terminology of accounting. Thank you for today.